Good morning and welcome to the second annual Action Institute for the Department of Public Health. My name is Cheryl Bartlett and I'm the Director of the Bureau of Community Health and Prevention and also the Interim Deputy Commissioner at the department. And I'm thrilled to be here at our second institute. Last year we had 3 regional institutes. One on the Cape, one in Framingham, and one in Northampton that was snowed out and rescheduled for April. How many of you were there at one of the institutes last year? Great. Great. Well, as you know, this is part of our community transformation and our Mass in Motion work. We received 2 community transformation grants about a year and a half ago. We're in our second year of our work plans for community transformation and Mass in Motion. So it's really delightful to have all of you here together and to share the lessons that we're learning as we take this new approach to public health really on a community and local level and using a multi-sector healthy communities model for public health. We now reach 33% of the population through 52 communities in the work that you're all doing. So your work is really spreading across the state. I've heard about many of the successes that you've had, and I think Commissioner Smith will talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that we're focused on.
So one of the things I think it's important to start with, and you obviously have an action-packed, fun-filled day today, is a little bit of reflection about how we got here, why we are in this room talking about what it is that you all are going to be discussing and wrestling with today. Clearly there's, sometimes there's a kind of impatience that I think that we all have, and that's understandable because we want to get to the great outcomes and the important improvements in our community as soon as possible, because we understand that in the interim there are lost opportunities in the health and well-being of our fellow residents, our friends, our colleagues. But I think we have to have step back and remind ourselves how long it took us to get to where we are and to get to the level of issues and problems that we have today. And so I know that these are probably some slides that you've started with, or that you've seen before, but I wanted to start with them because I feel like it's important to occasionally give ourselves a joint communal reality check about what it is that we are in fact facing and why we have to gird ourselves for what is likely to be at least a important and potentially long battle, if you will. Forgive me the use of that martial analogy, but a long sort of effort to get after what we're doing. So, and I'm sure some of you have seen this. So this was in 1990. This represents the proportion of American adults who were overweight or obese, rather, who had a BMI greater than 30. All right. So the important thing to notice here is that the highest category was 10 to 14% of adults in the obese category. This is real community change that is meant to be lasting and is meant to really transform where we live, how we live, and what our expectations are about what our communities can be like and what our trajectories of our life can be like. I hope that in all of our communities, 20 years from now, if I were to, come back and go to churches and other groups and ask people, who are, which I did once in a Roxbury church, how many of you have or know someone with diabetes? Everyone raises their hand. How many of you have or know someone with hypertension? Everyone raises their hand. How many, on and on and on. That does not have to be, right? We can undo that, and the work that you are doing is directly related to shifting those sorts of experiences so that it doesn't have to be expected that by 65 you're going to have diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. It doesn't have to be that way. And you guys and the work that you are doing actually can directly impact that. So congratulations to all of you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. But please know that the work you're doing is absolutely essential, and I hope you leave here today sort of reinvigorated, if that's at all necessary, so that you can continue the fabulous work that you're doing. So congratulations and have a great rest of the day.
Hi, Jessica. I'm Karen.
Stay standing and then we're going to start the stretch. Good job. All right, good stuff. Now we're going to hold our hands up and reach and up. One more of that side. Forward and up. And then the other side, half circle. Really reach. Good. One more. Good. Now we're going to do full circle. One step. All the way down. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So because this is Mass in Motion, we're going to move a little bit, okay? And the first thing I want to do is ask you a question. And I'm going to ask you, this is a check all that apply kind of question. So there's going to be a part A, B, C, and D. I want you to raise your hand for each one that applies to you, okay? When you think about the concept of leading leaders, you think of A, herding cats. Be honest, herding cats. Okay. 2, a chemical reaction with some volatile agents. 3, an exciting challenge and an interesting opportunity for change. And D, all of the above. And that is the truth. The work of leading leaders is a challenging process. It is the piece that truly leads us towards transformation. And we're going to be talking about some of the elements of leading leaders and some of the strategies for getting there.
Morning, afternoon, we're approaching that time. Thank you for the introduction, and I'm representing our Fun in Fitchburg partnership. We are about 50 miles west of Boston, very close to the New Hampshire border. So, what is our Fun in Fitchburg Community Mobilization Network, and who do we see around our table? And I'd like to recognize my partners that are here today that are around these tables, so if you could just give a shout out. Oh, come on, a louder shout out than that. There you go. I felt a little bit humbled and not right being up here, and when I was first asked to do this presentation, I wanted to bring everybody in on it, and they said, Mary, you have 5 minutes, how are you going to do that? So really, I feel that there are so many other people who are the voice of Fun in Fitchburg, but I'm happy to do it because it's a great group.
So I'd like to introduce you to our second speaker, Amanda Ryder, who works for JSI.
Great, thank you. Hi everyone, so as Rose said, I'm here on behalf of Metro West Moves, and I serve as a member of the coordination team. And Metro West Moves, for those of you who might not be familiar, is a newer funded Middlesex County Community Transformation Grant. So before I get started, I also wanted to take a minute and recognize the members of our group that are here today. So I think in the back we've got Sam Long, Bob Landry, Priscilla Ryder, and we also have a couple of folks from the Everett Kennedy Health Center who have recently started to engage with us as a partner. So we're glad they're here. And over here we have Michelle Sicolo and Karen Shea from Hudson, and I saw Ethan Mascoop over there from Framingham, who's also here today. So I think it's great that we are supported by so many members, and I'm happy to stand here and represent them. I also wanted to introduce another member of the coordinating team, Jamie Hinson, who's in the back. So I think jump in, I also want to preface preface this by saying that what I think is unique about Metro West Moves, two things, but the first one being is we're fairly recently funded. So we held our first kickoff event this past June of 2012, so we haven't even been working for a year. So I think what you might hear from me is perhaps a little bit different and more in its infancy than what Mary shared, but I hope that we'll be able to share some valuable experiences.
A couple of the big takeaways is to remember to build time and space into your process and into your work plans to have these important conversations, and to build time and space into the work plans so that you do get community feedback and community engagement, because if the community isn't excited about it, it's not a winning strategy, and we know that. I think a couple of the other things that I heard from our two speakers was the importance of recognizing the contributions of the partners in a very public and sometimes even prestigious way. So it's an acknowledgement of the contributions that are being made. And creating the space and understanding barriers to participation. We heard about youth, we heard about non-traditional partners, we heard about those who do not speak English as a first language. So recognize those barriers, and as a group confront those barriers and strategize about ways to breaking them down. It's really critical too that you explain the what's in it for me with them. What's in it for me for the partners, so that there is that ownership stake and that buy-in. But time and space. It's messy, and it's worth it because you're building that collective energy. We want to thank you again for the incredible contributions you're making across the state. Thank you.
No, it's great to be here. I really appreciate the invitation. I want to start, though, with a quick survey, and because you all are to some degree health and data and evidence-based geeks, I'm going to have to do my survey correctly. So don't participate if you don't have kids, because you'll screw up the sample. If you walked to school when you were a kid, raise your hand. And everybody take a look around. I've seen this a million times. All right, put your hands down. Raise your hand if your kid walks to school. Thank you. Okay, so that is the same all over the country, although because you all do care about this and don't want to be photographed driving your kid to school, you perform a little better, actually, than average. But in fact, this is the same all over the country.
Workshop, and we have Stefanie from the Food Trust, who is going to give a great presentation and overview, and we also have two, Lola's not, Lola from MAPC is going to talk, and we have Cambridge here to talk about community initiatives, some local flavor, and the Food Trust will give a national overview.
So, hello everyone, I'm Jose Wendell from Cambridge, and I'm here with Kim Maluski from the Cambridge Community Center, and we're going to talk about the Cambridge Winter Farmers Market.
Big fan.
Okay, all right, and you can all become Facebook fans of the Cambridge Winter Farmers Market, which is a good thing to do. They have lots of exciting stuff up. So anyway, just in terms of context, Cambridge is one of the Community Transformation Grant Mass in Motion communities, and we were working on 5 different components, and the winter market and farmers markets in general is one of them.
So one of the grant programs that I administer is the PARK grant program. It stands for the Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations for Communities program. And the PARK grant program is for municipalities, and it can do 3 things. You can purchase parkland, you can build a new park, or you can renovate existing municipal parks. And I just want to note that all of the pictures in the slideshow are on projects that we have worked on in the past. The Secretary's priorities for the fiscal year 14 grant round, which was just posted last Friday, so you guys are here at the perfect time to hear about these funding opportunities. We like to see projects that are in environmental justice neighborhoods, those on former brownfield sites, parks that increase park equity by providing new parks in areas of the city or town that do not currently have them, and also parks that can be accessed using your feet, a bike, public transit, anything but your car. And here's my contact information, and I will be turning it over to Julie, and then when she's done, we can answer your questions.
Well, I'm Julianne Kelly. I'm the coordinator of Mass in Motion Fall River, and I'm going to speak about placemaking in Fall River. This is an important community for the development of and maintenance of parks and open spaces. Children, often their backyard is the park in the city. Stay vacations, people with no resources to leave the community, and so they're using the natural resources that the city can provide. I refer to this picture of Fall River as the asphalt necklace as compared to the emerald necklace around Boston. And back in the 60s, you know, these highways completely cut off the city and its residents from the beautiful natural resources that may have been motivators for getting out there and being physically active. So Mass in Motion has challenges. So when I first started back in 2009 with Mass in Motion, one of the questions was, we're changing policy, we're changing systems, we're changing environments, and how do you go about that? And one way that, from my experience, has always been to engage the community. We knew that yearly cleanup was great, but it was not going to do the trick to maintain these parks. So with our open space and recreation plan, we put in the idea of an Adopt a Park program. And someone who could not be with me today is Sandy Dennis, who's done an amazing job in researching this across the country, finding other communities that have these Adopt a Park programs. We have 12 of the parks already adopted. People not only do regular, and I mean weekly cleanups or walkthroughs, they're also looking for safety issues. Are they finding needles? Do they see crime activity going on in the park? Are there beautification projects that can go on, like painting park benches or restoring them, planting trees? We also thought it was very important for our park advocates to get out before the City Council and before the community CDBG block grant hearings and tell people how important the parks were. We find in the city of Fall River, and perhaps many places, that when you're doing your priority list and you know funding is being cut, one of the first places that it's going to be cut is from the Parks Department, and that was certainly the case in Fall River. And so we told people to come out and speak before the City Council. And in January of 2011, they came and spoke before the Community Development Block Grant, and they talked about what the parks meant to them. And following that, the adopters of Pulaski Park, the Niagara Neighborhood Association, made an application to CDBG and got funding for the restoration of their park. Out of Fall River Park Advocates came a subcommittee, the Fall River Bike Committee. And again, it engages citizens. The idea is to get the word out that here's a group that is pushing for Fall River to be a bikeable city, and also to demonstrate that people can bike safely in the city. And as a result, you know, again, it's the idea of a linear park. So we have been taking people out to the bioreserve. This is Mount Hope Bay, connecting them to the natural beauty of their city. In Fall River right now, there's just so many things happening, and they all have to do with moving traffic and transportation. But by having advocates there at the table, we're making them listen to the need that pedestrians and bicycles have got to access the waterfront. Great things happening in a great city. So thank you very much.